At Wilcom Embroidery Fonts, we have pushed the boundaries with regards to ESA fonts, and we've created something called elements. Elements are actually design elements that have been assigned a keystroke, and they are always identified by a capital and lowercase z, followed by the name. That way they fall towards the bottom of your font list. Now the reason why is a lot of these elements are very graphically detailed, and if you were to type in an entire word and then bring up the elements, it would actually start to slow down the system. So I would use the insert character when I'm working within elements, and you'll see that each of the letters has been assigned a design. So if I want to bring in the letter O and click OK, I can see that I have a crown that's come up, and these are totally resizable. They will resize as large as you want, and you will not lose any design integrity whatsoever. Now you do have to make sure that you look and adjust the stitch types, but everything is within your control. Now, hands down, the best thing about the elements is the ability to resize them as well as change the stitch types. If I bring in this element at 100 millimeters, and this is a pretty complex design of a unicorn, and if I look at it at true view, you can see how all the lines are perfect. I'm just going to select this entire object, and I'm going to make this 200 millimeters in height, and you're going to see that the integrity of the design is just as good at this size as it was at half the size. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that object, and you can see all of the outlines, and I'm going to go into edit and I'm going to break it apart. And now all of the original objects that were digitized show up within my sequence view, and now I can start having some fun, and I can start changing elements of the design. If I look at this entire design right now, I can see that it is all a satin stitch, and I'm going to click the auto spacing, and I can see that a lot of these are going beyond the 7 millimeters because they're starting to splice the stitches. But now I can go in with my polygon select, and I can very quickly start to outline what I would consider the mane of the unicorn, and try to leave the face part just intact. And I'm just going to come as close as I can. I don't have to be perfect, but now I'll come around the outside, make sure that I have all of these objects selected, hit enter, and if I turn off the true view, you can see that I've selected all but one of the objects. Let's just hit the control key and grab that one object. I'm going to change the color right away to a different color, and then I'm going to go to the fill outline. I'm going to change this to tatami stitch, and I'm going to choose a pattern. So we'll choose, let's say, number 16, and now I have a 16 pattern tatami, and if I look at this back in true view, it actually gives me a total separation of those objects. Now what I can do is I can zoom in a little bit just to the top part of this, and let's take a look at these objects as well. And if I turn off my true view, I'm going to go back to my select this time, and I can very quickly, while holding the control key down, select just the objects that I want to change from a satin to a fill stitch. And I'm going to leave, I think, all of the areas within the horn and those tiny little circles. I'll leave those as satins, and I'll choose to change pretty much everything else, and I just have to tap on all of them. Now what I'm going to do, actually, let's take that and let's change that to a tatami stitch, and I'm going to choose again number 15, and then I'm going to change this to orange, and I'm going to then grab all of these little objects and let's change those to orange as well. And now if I look at this, I can see that I have a beautiful design that has changed in nature. Now if I want to go in and just change that one to a regular tatami, I've basically taken a design and I've given it a lot more depth by breaking it apart and being able to change the objects exactly the way I want them.